You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
Tu es l'image de Dieu.
I hold you in my heart.
Tu es l'image de l'amour.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
Tu sei la luce di Dio.
I hold you in my heart.
Tu sei il volto dell'amore.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of God. The face of God. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are a part of me. A part of me. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God.
Eres la luz de Dios.
I hold you in my heart.
Eres la cara del amor.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face
Tu
of
sei la luce di Dio.
You are the face
You
of
are the
God.
face of God.
You are the face
Tu
of
es
God.
l'image de Dieu.
You are the face
You
of
are the face of God.
You are the face
Tu
of
sei
God.
la luz de Dios.
You are the face
You
of
are
God.
the face of God.
You are the face
Tu
of God.
روح خدایی.
You are the face
You
of
are the face of God.
You are the face of
Eres la luz de Dios.
You are the face of You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
Tu es l'image de Dieu.
I hold you in my heart.
Tu es l'image de l'amour.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
Tu sei la luce di Dio.
I hold you in my heart.
Tu sei il volto dell'amore.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of God. The face of God. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are a part of me. A part of me. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God.
Eres la luz de Dios.
I hold you in my heart.
Eres la cara del amor.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face
Tu
of
sei la luce di Dio.
You are the face
You
of
are the
God.
face of God.
You are the
Tu
face of
es
God.
l'image de Dieu.
You are the face
You
of
are the face of God.
You are the face
Tu
of
sei
God.
la luz de Dios.
You are the face
You
of
are the face of God.
God. You are the face
Tu
of God.
روح خدایی.
You are the face
You
of
are the face of God.
You are the face of
Eres la luz de Dios.
You are the face of
Good morning and welcome to Spiritual Life Center, a church that love is building.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Let us open with prayer. Dear God, you provided us your messenger, and when Jesus sent his disciples out, he gave them a message that applies to us as well. He said, as you go, proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. You received without payment, give without payment. Loving Spirit, we come together in gratitude, celebrating the gift of life you provide us. Having accepted this gift, we choose to share it by extending love to a deeply hurting world desperately in need. So we set an intent not to hold back on any opportunity to spread love broadly and passionately. And we call upon you, God, to open our eyes, our ears, our hands, and our hearts as you guide us on a spiritual path that follows your will and your way. Amen.
I release and let go in the silence of my soul. I release and let go my soul. I forgive every wrong as I sing this simple song. I forgive every wrong of my soul. I release and let go in the silence of my soul. I release and let go my soul. I release, I let go.
Today's daily word is divine order. Divine order is always unfolding in my life and in my world. As spring ripens into summer each year, new leaves transform bare trees into canopies of green. Tiny seedlings grow into sturdy plants and decorate the landscape with an array of colorful blossoms. I marvel at the divine order demonstrated as the earth renews itself. I recognize that even as the earth appears barren in winter, new life was already preparing to spring forth. I notice this pattern in my life. I may be demonstrating visible growth in my life, or, like the earth in winter, it may seem that my life is stagnant and barren. I remember that as the seasons of nature's change, so do the seasons of my life. Even when it's not apparent to me, I know that divine order is always unfolding in my life. and in my world. There's such comfort in knowing that God is there for us in every moment, and that there is a divine order in everything in life that is coming our way. And so I invite you now to take this time to allow your breathing to just let you relax. Let everything go. And ask your mind to be still as you remember to turn within to that still, quiet place within us where all of life's answers are. Within each of us, dwelling within each of us is the very presence of the living God. We continue to relax and just let go. Whatever cares or concerns we may have come in with, allow them to fade away. For within us, at the very depth of our being, the source of our wisdom lies. Let us ask ourselves the great questions, and then let us call forth from within us the profound answers. What is the purpose of this human birth? We allow ourselves to listen and remember. We have been created in God's image to love, to serve, to remember, and to awaken to who we truly are. Breathing more deeply, we drop deeper into the silence, to that still, quiet place where the ancients have called the Holy of Holies. In the silence, in the silence. There is a place within us that remembers, that knows, and within each of us carries a great life with real gifts to give and to share. Gifts that will make a difference at this time in the world. And so we continue to open this great love that each of us is, to continue to open to the unique and wonderful gifts that each of us carries. As we take time each day to listen, we've come to see how each one of us together can have a part in creating heaven on earth. And as we remember to love and to serve and to trust, when we remember God is in every moment of every circumstance. And so we choose to remember. We choose to remember love. And we choose to remember that all we give to ourselves. And so now, let us join together as we sing and pray the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. Mm-hmm. 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 How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Nancy, that was so beautiful and so appropriate for this morning's message. But first, a man went into a bar and was sitting at the counter when all of a sudden a big bully came up behind him, reached over, grabbed his shot glass, and gulped it down quickly. Well, all of a sudden the man started crying. And the bully said, "Wait a minute, I can't stand it when a man cries. Why are you crying?" And the fellow said, "You see, I'm a failure. I went to work this morning, did something wrong, and the boss fired me. Went out to my car, it had been stolen. When I finally got home, there was another man with my wife. So I decided to come over here and end it all. And I had just poured the poison into my drink when all of a sudden you came along. You see, I can't do anything right. But enough about me. How's your day going?" There are lots of reasons to invest yourself in God. And one of those is so that you, upon hearing a story like this, can not only laugh, but also trust that it's not true. Another reason for investing in God is so that you may move through life able to trust in beneficial outcomes. Lenore and I had a wonderful example of that just a couple weeks ago. We were looking for a couple of chairs for our patio. And we found this at a Lowe's store near us. They were reasonably priced. They were small, like we needed. Each of them had a little footstool under it and a little table that came along as well. But that particular store didn't have anything except the unit that was on the floor. So we located another Lowe's store some 8 miles west of us that did have some units in storage. So we went out there, and We had our masks and we were social distancing, but when we saw the package that it all came in, I mean, it was 3 foot square. There was no way we were going to get that in our car. And we don't have anyone in our family who has a pickup truck. So we were trying to figure out, what do we do? And I remember thinking, God, you have to take over. Well, we looked at the possibility of having it shipped to us, but that was going to cost $80, and it was going to take 2 weeks for them to get it to us. So we were standing there, and all of a sudden, Lenore came up with a brilliant idea. She said, why don't we just take it all apart here? Break the box down, put the parts into our car. Great idea. So we had a young man from the store who was helping us take the box out to the car. But upon trying to get all the pieces out of the car, out of the box and into the car, it was really quite a mess. They're all packed in so tight together, and there's so many parts. And while we were trying to figure this out, a woman came up to us and said, I'm parked right next to you here in my pickup truck, and I see that you're having a difficult time with this. Would you like me to take it for you if you're not that far? We said, well, we're 8 miles away out in Novi. She said, that's not a problem. Where in Novi? And we said, Fox Run, Senior Adult Living Center. And she said, that's not a problem. My daughter and I will follow you. So the young man put it into her pickup truck, and she followed us. Her name was Amy, delightful person. She followed us right up to our door and helped us take it out and deposit it right on our patio, ready to be put together. Well, we noticed on the way there that her truck was very old, and it had a front light that was out, only one light in front. So we were able to convince Amy to allow us to provide her enough of a gift in compensation and thank you for what she had done to actually provide several of those front headlights. Well, this was another reminder to us that there is no reason for fear or anxiety or apprehension when we trust God. Now, one of the greatest benefits to investing in God is not generally recognized. And this is so you are able to be clear about God's truth, clear on the real message of God. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 14, Jesus provides a parable that focuses on your place at the table of life. You see, Jesus is attending a banquet, a dinner on the Sabbath that was being put on by one of the leaders of the Pharisees. And while he's there, he encounters a man who approaches him with an illness, a sickness. And he raises the question to the people present, is it right to heal someone on the Sabbath? No one answers, because this is supposed to not be something that's done within the traditional spiritual teachings of that day. And Jesus heals the man and says, if you had a child who fell into a well on the Sabbath, would you not pull him out? Jesus was always so practical in his teachings. And then he goes on and spots that people are vying for places closer to the host at the front of the table. And he tells them, if you were invited to the wedding feast, don't put yourself in a position where you're closest to the host, because then if someone more distinguished comes along, you will be asked to move back down. Rather, place yourself at near the rear of the table, and then the host can say to you, please come higher. Feasts and banquets play a large part in the teachings of Jesus. His final discourse was at a feast that has come to be known as the Last Supper. Symbolically, Jesus saw all of life as a potential feast for the whole person. He refers to life as a banquet in which we can constantly absorb some kind of nourishment. Several of Jesus' parables have a setting at a feast or a banquet. And here, Jesus makes a couple of key points. The first is that none of us is more important or less important than anyone else. Now, this teaching, metaphysically, provides the greatest disparity between how we think about our lives and how God would have us think. You see, all of our lives, we've understood that we're supposed to be and do better than others. And while it's true that we're supposed to be and do better than we were previously, it's not about being better than others. We're also, when we look around, don't we have a tendency to see the good people and the bad people? Well, it's true that there are good behaviors and bad behaviors, but the people themselves are inherently good. We know this to be true, because God tells us that we all matter. No one is more important than anyone else. No one matters more than anyone else. And this is the real message of Black Lives Matter. Jesus goes on then to have one of his statements that is so powerful, because he says, "For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." Jesus gives us one of the most vital lessons that we can ever learn. Never try to demonstrate the false notion that you are more important to God than any of God's other guests. If a person deliberately tries to claim greater importance over a fellow human being, the law of life will rectify that error. We will come to understand by what happens to us that this is not right. Now, is this done to us as punishment? No, but for that person's own higher good. Because if arrogance, selfishness, and favoritism were allowed to prevail at God's feast, what kind of host would God be? Sometimes God's unfolding good can take on the appearance of being anything but good. Yet, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, God has a way of wringing good out of the evil. Our country has seen protests throughout the nation. We have seen social injustice and economic inequality for years and assumed that this was the way it was to be, that nothing could be done about it. Even early in my lifetime, Black people, African American people in certain sections of our city were required to walk down the center of the street. They were not welcome to be on the sidewalk. And even as recently as a couple of days ago, I overheard a conversation that I was not part of, where a man said, you know, I received this message from a particular person. And this person is a Black man, but he's still a good person. Do you hear the implication of that? Black people are not generally good, but this person happened to be. Our country has been shaken to its core, and yet possible, meaningful change can come about. And there are hopeful signs. We have seen police officers and protesters shaking hands, hugging, officials taking a knee in support. And we receive something where we live from the person who is the chief executive officer of Erickson Living, which is the parent company of Fox Run and has 20 or more facilities around the country like Fox Run. And I found this letter inspiring, and I wanted to share segments of it with you. This is the chief executive officer stating this. It is our differences, our diversity that makes our communities such vibrant places to live and work. And by choosing to be inclusive, we are creating a true sense of belonging among our residents and employees. Because we understand that diversity and inclusion is a gift, we are deeply grieved by the murders of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and the subsequent unrest occurring across our country. No person should ever be harmed, threatened, or afraid because of the color of their skin, how they choose to worship, or whom they love. These injustices tear communities apart and erode the very fabric of our nation. They cannot be tolerated, and they cannot be ignored. As a company, we are more resolved than ever to protect and support our employees and residents. We will do whatever we can to ensure you continue to live and work in a safe and inclusive environment. And we encourage you to engage in constructive dialogue and actions to effect positive change. If we continue to band together, we can keep the spirit of diversity and inclusion alive within our family of communities and be a beacon of hope that peace, harmony, and progress will prevail. And we received a notice just yesterday that the foundation associated with this organization of Erickson Living, of Fox Run, is making a $5 million donation to directly support organizations fighting for social justice. Makes me proud to live in a community where the leader will communicate in ways like that. We have learned that it is possible for people to change. There was a boy by the name of John who was born 3 centuries ago in England and was raised in his early years by a mother who took him to church often and exposed him to spiritual teachings. She so influenced him that the woman who was to become his wife appealed to him largely because she reminded John of his mother. After his mother died when he was 7, life became very difficult. He went to sea at the age of 11. In time, he became captain of a slave ship, which he rationalized because everyone agreed that slavery was essential to the British economy. Now, John actually worked for a slave dealer at one time. In his early 20s, while he was on a ship, he was led to read a book called The Imitation of Christ. And he became exposed to spiritual teachings. And he sought to know more. And he prayed. Well, on this particular voyage, the boat began to sink, and all hope appeared lost. John prayed, and all of them together pumped water, and they did make it to shore. He now had concrete evidence that God would respond to his prayers, would do the impossible. And when he got back into England, John decided to enter ministry. The Reverend John Newton taught, and he was a prime example that God can turn a life around. He was sought out by a member of Parliament by the name of William Wilberforce. John Newton convinced Wilberforce to remain in Parliament and to become a driving force to eliminate slavery. The day Newton died was the very day that the government of England abolished the use of British ships to transport slaves. And later that country, England, became the first of the free world countries to abolish slavery totally. This was a quarter of a century before the United States did. They were inspired greatly by a former slave ship captain who turned his life around thanks to the lingering message of his mother. And John Newton is also known for having written the hymn, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that changed a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. So the first key point is that no one of us is any better or any worse than any other person in the eyes of God. This demonstrates an individual's ability to change. We can, as a society, demonstrate our collective systemic ability to change by eliminating racism. And the second key point is this, and it comes from that same segment of scripture where Jesus goes on while he's at that feast and says, he reports that people are accustomed to inviting those to their banquets and feasts who will repay them and invite them back to theirs. But he says, when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind, and you will be blessed. You will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. Jesus was always emphasizing the need to look after the needs of the downtrodden, of those who are in need. When we see it from the perspective of this particular parable, we understand that it goes way beyond expressing kindness and compassion for another person. Rather, it actually provides God's message of living in ways that promote the well-being and equality of all persons. We have been watching the recent History Channel story of 3 segments on General Ulysses S. Grant, who became President Grant. And it tells how Grant, in the 1850s, before the Civil War had started, when he was totally unknown to anyone except his former students at West Point and military people, he was caught up in a dilemma that resulted because his family were staunch abolitionists opposed to slavery, whereas his wife had grown up in a family that owned a number of slaves. And Grant was in dire straits financially. He was living on the edge of poverty. And one of his wife's family had gifted them a slave. Well, after a short time, while Grant was in the midst of slavery, he took the slave with him to the local city officials and signed the papers freeing the slave. Now, at that point, he was told, you can get $1,000 payment for that slave. This is your most valuable asset. And Grant said, no, I want William to be free. That is the character of people that allows them to deal righteously in the midst even of the most difficult kinds of situations. Your and my importance as guests of God in the feast of eternal life does not consist in our prestige or status over others, but rather in our individual existence in and of itself. When we see ourselves as living, learning, growing persons, not more important or less important than any others, then we immediately have full honor as guests in the feast of eternal life. And remember, we're all in this for the long pull, right? Not just for this lifetime, but we're looking ahead to when we join God and our loved ones from the past in that divine realm. And at that time, we will be exposed to a school that will reveal when and how we have lived in the past. We want that to be well received, do we not? So, the question becomes, how do we invest in God? Well, sometimes my investing in God comes from asking God to take over some particular situation or condition. But more so, this investment is the result of an ongoing awareness and trust that God is active and alive in my life and in the world. and asking God on an ongoing basis to provide me the guidance to be and to do what is mine to be and do. Our son, one of our sons, shared this statement that has impacted his life greatly, and I share it with you now. It's an affirmation he seeks to repeat regularly. Accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what can be. Now, I know what it's like to not live in this way. Half a lifetime ago, I was impoverished, not only financially, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I came to see that only I could bring about the change that was needed. And this could only happen as I invested myself fully in God over time. When we see that life itself can be a constant feast, it frees us from the false belief that some parts of life are good and other parts not good at all, or even a waste of time. If one part of you is not receiving the benefit, then another is, if your attitude toward God is right. And this is so even when you feel like you're at the end of your rope. It is important to see yourself as a guest at God's feast of eternal life. And when you do, you will be filled with gratitude on an ongoing basis and be able to say, even when the sky appears at its darkest, know that the sun shines upon you, that love surrounds you, and that pure light within you will guide your way home. So trust the process of your life unfolding and know through peaks and valleys of your journey that your soul rests safe and secure in the arms of God. And so it is. Amen. And we are so grateful that you have joined us for this service this morning. And we invite you now to provide of yourself, if you are able, of your gifts to support this ministry. We have an affirmation. Let us share it together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And we invite you to share your love offering, if you are able, in one of three ways. One way, as shown on the screen, is online giving through our secure website, www.slctroy.com/give. A second way is to mail a check or money order to 41340 Fox Run Road, number 106, Novi, Michigan, 48377. And the third way is to call with credit card information for a one-time gift to 248-925-6214. We also would like to welcome anyone joining us for the first time today and invite you to join our email list by visiting our website and clicking on Join Email. This will allow us to keep you informed of upcoming services and events happening here at Spiritual Life Center. Our Wednesday night prayer and meditation service continues during physical distancing time, and you are invited to join us for that service through Zoom. It is followed by a time of connection and conversation. Please join our email list to receive an invitation and link to this online prayer and meditation service. If you have any prayer requests, you can send those to us at the email that's shown on the screen, ronaldfscott@gmail.com. That's Ronald, F as in Frank, Scott @gmail.com. And we will send your prayer requests on to our prayer team as well as to Silent Unity. You may also call me with your prayer requests at 248-925-6214. In order to get them out by this evening, we ask that you do this during the day so that the prayer team can have these to pray over this week. And additionally, you may contact Silent Unity for prayer 24/7 at 1-800-NOW-PRAY. Finally, we would like to invite you to our Zoom coffee hour at 11 o'clock, immediately following the service. You should have received an email with a new link for this time of connection. If not, please contact us and we will get that information to you. And now, please join us as we join together in our peace song and benediction.
Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
And now as you go forth, know that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you.
The Lord bless thee and keep thee.
The power of God protects you.
The Lord make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee.
The presence of God watches over you.
The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and grant thee peace.
Wherever you are, God is. rejoicing, all is truly well.